Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Saturday, which means it's time for my favorite segment of the week. And we call it around here the weekend workshop, where we focus on anything that I'm learning, preparedness related items, content creation, and everything else under the sun. Basically anything that I find interesting that I think will give you value in your life and what you're up to. So this week we are going to talk about this beauty right here. I've had my Berkey water filter for just about a month right now, and I've worked through some growing pains with it, which weren't really that bad at all. And I thought that I would take time and put together some tips and some answers to questions that I had before I owned one. So this week it's going to be 12 tips for new users that I've learned from the Berkey water filter. Alright guys, real quick before we dive in, two things. If you're watching this on YouTube, this series started out as an Odyssey exclusive and now I put it on all my platforms. But if you're interested in a blockchain-based, censorship-free platform that supports creators as well, and maybe you're looking for a place that has a little less traffic and clutter to start your content creation business, go over and check out odyssey.com. That's O-D-Y-S-E-E. And they pay their creators in crypto, which is awesome. I love it. Not sponsored by them, just love them that much. And number two, if you guys are looking for solutions to problems, go by toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co, and check out the Today's Tools section there, where I talk about the products that I've used in my handyman business that have solved problems, that have made me money or saved me money. So if you're looking to solve a problem that you have, check it out there and you may just find a recommendation that works for you. All right, so this week I have had my eye, or ear more preferably, or more succinctly, whatever, I have had my ear on the idea of a Berkey for a long time. Everybody in the preparedness community talks about a Berkey, and I thought, man, they're damned expensive. You know, in Canada, they're in kind of the $300 range, and that seems like a lot for what I thought was basically a Brita water filter. And I'd heard so much about them, I thought, oh, this is great. And you know, I was looking at some of my preps and preparedness stuff, and I thought, you know what, it's time to maybe make the jump. Can I afford it? Maybe. But like, you guys probably know this about me at this point, but if there's something I am interested in, I research the shit out of it before I buy something. And I'm also a compulsive upgrader. So if there are upgrades that I can do that are worth the money, worth the time, and give me features I need, I like to know about them going in, because I like to order things as a package deal if I can help it. I like to have what I want. I like to have it up and running to the point of where I really need it right out of the box. So there's a couple upgrades I did, some DIY hacks that I've come up with, and these are basically 12 tips. Now I'm going to be a bit of a dick this week, and I'm going to leave the best one that I don't think I've heard anyone else say to the very end. But I am going to give you the second tip right now. My second best tip, that is. And so, okay, we're going to start with, I had a lot of questions in my head when I first started looking at Berkeys. What size do I need? And there are a ton of videos out there that answer all the basic questions. But if you're wondering which one I bought, it's the big Berkey. 2.25 gallons of water. It's supposed to be enough for a family of 4 to 6, something like that. And the filters, with running some calculations, should last hopefully around 10 to 11 years for our family, based on our usage. So that's what I got. There's all kinds of technical stuff, but I have questions about the practical end of things. And the first thing I was thinking was, if you haven't seen these, I'm going to show you. This is the top half. This is where you put your nasty city water in, if you can see that. Those are the two charcoal filters. And it's fits, you know, it's a 2.5 gallon, so you'd figure 2.5 gallons go up there. And of course, at least in my house, I didn't have room to put it right next to the sink. So, you know, it's a pain in the butt to fill it. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I thought I could use a measuring cup, and I tried that. And you just have to go back and forth a ton of times. So then I started looking online for a measuring cup or something like a Kool-Aid pitcher that was 2.5 gallons. I thought that would be perfect. And the only thing I could find was like stuff for an industrial kitchen that was like $50, $60, $70. And then all of a sudden this old brain of mine had a eureka moment. And this, honestly, I think is the second best tip in my video, but I'm going to give it to you right now because it's kind of cool. So, since we are not using, you know, the bottled pre-filtered water that we get like this anymore, I've got a bunch of these around. So what did I do? First off, I cut the top off so it's easy to pour in, easy to pour out, which is awesome. I love that. Now, secondly, what I did was I took a measuring cup and I measured exactly how much water goes in here. When I figured out exactly how much that was, I then did that again, poured it in here, and I took a Sharpie and put a black line right there. So now, every time I go to fill this little bugger, I throw that in the sink, I let it fill up to right to that line, and I can pour that in there as fast as I want because there's no glugging because it's wide open. And I know that it's going to stop right at the very top. So there's no friggin', it's as fast as I can go. So I thought, I've never seen anybody do this either, and I thought this was pretty cool. It's cheap. Well, I mean, you might lose your deposit. The place where I get these from, they just charge you for them. You don't get a deposit on them that's returnable. So it didn't matter to me anyway. We got a ton of these. I'm going to use some to store some pre-filtered Berkey water. But to me, if you're looking for an easy way to pour, tip number one, cut the top off of a 5-gallon water jug and then mark it right there. Now, the second tip, and like I said, I'm a consistent upgrader, and I got looking and there's a whole bunch online of spigot upgrades and things like that. We're going to talk about the spigot I ended up going with, but you will see online that a lot of people recommend the sight glass, and it looks like one of them, it looks like a big plastic or glass straw that sits on top of your spigot, and it comes all the way up to here, and you can eye it up and see how much water is in there. Now, number one, it's only available on the plastic spigot, which I wasn't a big fan of. We'll talk about that in a minute. But number two, it's something that's up there, and it's just something the kids are going to catch, or when I come in and take my sweater off, I'm going to catch it. It just was not something that I think you need, because what I found is within a couple of days, you kind of, the Berkey becomes part of your life. You kind of get a system for how it works. And I know that it'll fill my wife and I's water bottles 4 times and the coffee maker once. And I know that by the end of the evening, it'll be right about there. I fill it up before I go to bed and it's full in the morning, and I've already dumped my fresh water in the coffee pot for the morning. So to me, it just becomes part of the routine, part of the cycle. You know how much water is in there, and you start to pay attention to the amount of pressure that's coming out of here. And as it gets lower, you notice, like I thought this would be, of course this is foolish, but I thought this would be really complicated and a pain in the ass, and that I'd always be wanting to take the top off and peek inside. Once I've done that just to see kind of how much water I'd used. You don't need to. It is a super intuitive kind of machine, and there's no moving parts with it. And you don't need that straw piece that sticks up to here that you can catch on. I mean, if you have one, great. And if you like what you have, good. But to me, I had no need for that whatsoever. So to me, tip number 2, answer number 2, do you need a sight glass? I don't think so. Number 3, so one of the odd design features of the Berkey, and it's just based on its size, is the fact that the spigot is at the very bottom. So if you put it right on the counter, right here, okay, if it's on the counter, there's no room to get a cup or anything underneath of it. And if you put it out over the edge like this, which is fine, so you can put things under it, not a problem, but you have got this thing right out to the end of the counter, again, where you can bump a $300 item, which you probably won't hurt this part, but the $100 and some charcoal filter cartridges in there, you might. So I don't like the idea of having it out at the edge of the counter, number 1, because it's in the way, and number 2, because you can break it. So what did I do? I built a stand for free. So you guys might have seen a yard cleanup I did a little while ago, and I ended up saving some 2x8s, 2x10, something, whatever they were, that used to be shelving. They were a bright blue. I keep spray paint on the hand all the time, so I just scabbed this guy together, spray painted it black, and it makes a perfect Berkey stand. Now, another thing you need to make sure you do when you build these stands is to measure what you're going to be filling. My water, I didn't bring them out, but we bought some water bottles, like stainless steel water cups from Costco that hold about 1/3 of a gallon. I bought 2 I'll cover that in a little bit, but they're really nice. Let's put it that way. I get ahead of myself when I'm doing these videos because I love this stuff. But anyway, so what I did was, if you can see, I built this stand for the Berkey. It brings it up. It makes it secure because there's a rubber on the bottom there that helps it as well. But it allows you to push that all the way to the back of the counter so that it's safer, it's out of the way, and it's more accessible. Might make it a little tall for some people. That's not an issue for me. So if you want a quick little hack and you have some lumber, don't go buy lumber right now. We all know what the price of that's like. But that's all I needed. Was this some scab together? I think that might actually be 2x12s. Anyway, whatever it happened to be, I know that's awfully expensive, but I had it for free. It was blue, spray painted it black, and my wife really, really liked it. So here's the next one. A lot of people online complain about being able to prime their filters, and I guess it can be a real pain. One thing that Berkey sends now, and if you happen to buy it and yours doesn't come with it, get yourself one of these little mustard or ketchup bottles. They make life so stinking easy. Fill this guy right to the brim, put that little rubber washer that comes with it, put it on like that, set it so you have your filter upside down in the sink, and you put that inside the threaded area, and then you just squeeze as hard as you can. And by the time you've filled this entire bottle, or emptied this entire bottle that was full, you'll start to see it bead, and the entire outside of the cartridge is almost gets shimmering, like it's wet, because you got all these beads of fine water coming out through there. And once the entire thing's covered in the bead of water, you know it's properly primed. And from all the other videos I've watched, the main cause of slow filtering right out of the box is because you didn't prime it properly. And there's a lot of videos about how to do it. I'm telling you right now, this is worth its weight. It can be a little hard on the wrists and the hands, but if this didn't come inside your machine, go and buy one for 25 cents at Dollar Tree or $1 at Dollar Tree, whatever it happens to be, and use this. It worked absolutely perfect, and it's all I needed. So tip number 5 is you will develop a pattern. I've already touched on this a bit, but it becomes part of your life. So if you're worried about keeping it full, how am I ever going to know if there's water in it, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, for us, within a week, which is really weird for us because we developed a pattern that, I fill the water, Becky and I's 3rd gallon water bottles in the morning, fill them again in the evening. So that's basically 4 fillings of 1/3 of a gallon roughly, a coffee pot. And by the end of that, I'm pretty much out. If I need a little more, I probably top up a water bottle and that's it. And then just before I go to bed, I fill it up. So it becomes part of your life. It's part of the pattern. Filling it is not a pain whatsoever. You don't need to look inside it. You don't need that sight glass. So number 6, and this is a good one. After I said all of that, you're still going to overfill it once. So I was so proud of myself right up until about 2 days ago. I was thinking, when I make this video, I can tell people this is super simple. I got a good system with that. No problem. And I'd never once had it overflow or spill. And I get up the next morning and there's water all over the floor because I hadn't let this drain completely. As long as there's no more water coming out of the spigot and you fill that to the top, you won't have any problems. But I decided to push my luck a little bit. I'm not sure exactly by how much, but the water all ran down. That's just part of living with a Berkey once. You probably won't let that happen again, but it happened to me. So if you're wondering, can it happen? Because I didn't know when you fill it, if the water will just sit up in here. But one of the benefits of a Berkey, and also one of the drawbacks, is it's not airtight. So like when you fill the old school water coolers and it glug, 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 and it takes forever to drain because it's airtight. It's basically relieving that pressure each time it glugs. But with these just sit here. So there's still room for a little bit of air in there. And that way you get full flow coming out of here, which works great. However, that means that if you overfill this, that pressure is going to find somewhere for the water to come out. It came out here and then all down over my nice, desks that are from IKEA that are nice, but made out of that stuff that doesn't like to get wet, then down over the floor and onto some shoes. So again, my wife was happy-ish. Number 7, buy a really good water bottle, water jug, whatever it happens to be. Like I said, ours are a 3rd gallon from Costco. They're stainless steel, just like this entire thing, easy to wash out. And the thing I found with a Berkey is that we have been drinking way more water. And when I told my wife, I said, we're going to get this, and we're going to replace the big 5-gallon jugs we have that I make my coffee out of. And I thought, even if we just do that, this thing will pay for itself in a year. But we've always bought the 24 packs from Costco or from Walmart and the 40 packs from Costco, and we drink a shit ton of water bottles. And you know, that's good, I guess, except that you have a lot of junk around and you have to pay for it. And anyway, so on a whim, when we were at Costco, I bought us each a water bottle. And it turns out that we really like this water, of course, because everybody said we would. And my wife drinks it a lot too, which is even better. So now she's into using those water bottles. I'm into them. And we have completely eliminated the use of all of those prepackaged water bottles from Walmart, which is great. So we're going through the water a little bit more. But one of the benefits is we're also drinking a lot more water, which I really like, and it's healthy. And it goes hand in hand with keto, of course. But but find yourself a good water bottle. And what we ended up doing was I had to make another trip to Costco about a week later. And I bought another pack with the same green and white ones. So now we have two, because if you're anything like me, I go to work, I drink my water, I throw the empty water bottle in the back seat of the truck and get something else out to drink, and then that's where it sits. And then I come in at night and I'm like, oh God, I forgot. So it's nice to always have a second one, and my wife is good at leaving hers at the daycare. So we got two, each of separate colors, one for us, for home, one at work, and then we bring them back and forth. Helps us keep them clean. If we forget one, you know, anyway. Now, here is one. This is a drawback. This is a question that I wondered. The Berkeys, do not hold as much as they advertise. And that's okay. I measured it just to make sure, because they say it is a 2 1/4 gallon. I believe what they're saying, and if somebody else knows better than I do, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure what the 2 1/4 gallons is this top chamber without the filters in it, the total volume. But when you put 2 filters that big around in there, it cuts down on the water. And when I measured what goes into that to fill it right to the top, it's just under 2 gallons. So I was hoping, you know, 2 1/4 gallons is very close to half of a 5-gallon jug, so easy to figure out. But when it's under 2 gallons, you're down to almost a third of 5 gallons. Yeah, I know, that's that newfangled math. But that being said, it doesn't quite hold as much as you'd think, but it's still more than enough for me. So if I got to fill it, you know, we fill it once a day in the evening, like I said. But in case you're wondering, because I couldn't find the answer, nobody talked about it in a video, but it doesn't hold 2 1/4 gallons. It holds just under 2 gallons with the filters in it. Now, a lot of people complain about it filtering slow. And there's 2 reasons. Number one, of course, is that you didn't prime it properly out of the box, and that's a huge problem. But I have to say that the new filters that I've had for the first month filter so much faster than I thought they would. You know, I want to guess maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and there's enough in there to fill that full water jug, or my water bottle, which is great. Now, they do get slower over time, but there is a process for cleaning them that helps speed it up. But toward the end of their useful life, apparently they do get a little bit slower. But if you're wondering, out of the box, they are way faster than a lot of people made them sound, and way faster than some of the reputation online happens to be. I've been blown away. And maybe that is back to priming them properly, but they're a lot faster than you think. So here's another one. You see online, a lot of people, oh, they're not safe there. It can't be sold in California. If you just found out, oh, they can't be sold in California, well, you ruined it for me, Tim. They must be full of lead and cancer causing. Nope. The problem is, the reason they can't be sold in California is, of course, in California's infinite wisdom, they require extensive extra testing that the other 49 contiguous states and all the provinces in Canada do not require. And even though us in the preparedness world and people who are into water filters know Berkey really well, they're not a very big company. And it's very cost prohibitive for them to go out and test specifically for a product that does not contain lead, is known not to contain lead, has been tested through other laboratories to not contain lead, to then have to subject themselves to California's extra testing. So that's why they don't bother selling them in California. So if you live in California, maybe you got to go to, I don't know, Nevada or Arizona or anyway, a different state somewhere else, or have them shipped to anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not suggesting that you do anything like that. I'm just saying that it has nothing to do with health and safety, that it can't be sold in California. It's all to do with excessive regulation. So if you're wondering that, or if you've seen that somewhere and you were nervous about it, rest assured, it literally has nothing to do with health and safety. And, of course, I showed you my absolute second favorite, so that, tip number 11 I had on my paper was to cut a water cooler jug in half and to use it as your filler. And that to me was my favorite tip. Second favorite tip, and that's why I showed you at the beginning. And now you're all wondering, how did I save 25% on a Berkey water filter? I really didn't. No, I'm just kidding. Man, that would be awful. Just use my affiliate link. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, this was really cool. So I started looking online. I'd never seen anything anywhere. I looked at a place in Saskatchewan, which for most people who don't know that, is next to Alberta, which I understand if you don't, and that's okay. And I went to buy them, and I went to add one to my cart, and it said slightly blemished. I thought, I've never heard of that before. And then there's also a heavily blemished or extremely blemished or whatever it happens to be. So then I started doing a search, and I did find maybe one video where somebody had mentioned it. So these are absolutely cost prohibitive. And if you want to buy my Amazon, great. The price is the same pretty much everywhere. I think the pricing is controlled all across the board. So really the only way to save money, from what I have found, is to buy a blemished unit. Now you might say, well, Tim, I don't want some junk. When I'm spending $300 on something, I don't want to buy something that's wrecked. Well, first off, any blemished unit you buy comes with brand new accessories and brand new filters inside. So everything else is perfectly fine. They have a B stamped on them that says they're blemished. Lightly blemished literally just means discoloration, maybe a scratch, something in the stainless steel. The body still comes with a 1-year warranty, but it's literally a stainless steel container. There's nothing can go wrong with it. My heavily blemished one, you can't, turn it around. I don't think the video will even pick it up. But there's a couple, so right there, well, actually, part of that I didn't even realize is the B that's stamped in it. So there's some scratches and the ever so slight of a dent that you can feel if you touch right there. And by buying that, I took a chance, of course, and if I wasn't happy with it, I could have sent it back. But, so if you look at all the different Berkey sales pages online, and I did some searching in Canada and the US, just search blemished Berkey or extremely blemished, something like that. I think the blemished would have saved me around 10%, but the extremely, or the heavily blemished, which I took a chance on with the big Berkey, saved me $90 Canadian. So that'd be like 70 bucks American or something. But it was 25% it saved me off the cost. So to me, I mean, 300 or whatever it was already, it's a heavy pill to swallow, but if you can save 25% off that, then it allowed me to buy a couple extra upgrades and not worry about it. But if you're looking to save money, and this is about the only way I've managed to find a way to save money on a legitimate Berkey. Some people buy knockoff Berkeys or they build their own Berkeys, and that's cool too. But if you were looking for a way to save 25% on a Berkey, it's not a sales pitch, I'm just telling you, this was awesome to me, was buying a blemished unit. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're just, of course, they charge a lot for them, and their standard of quality is high, so they want to make sure that they're putting out good product. And so if it's slightly blemished, they sell it as a slightly blemished. If it's heavily blemished, they sell it as that. And if it's too bad, they discard it. And I missed one more point on the list of 12. And I probably didn't number them properly for you, but I apologize for that. But, so these were tips and answers. And the other upgrade that I did to this guy, and I know I mentioned it a little bit, but what I want to show you right quick is, this was one of my biggest complaints with the Berkey. That is the standard, off the shelf, comes from the company, plastic spigot that looks like it came from every coffee maker you've ever seen in a church basement at the potluck supper. It just doesn't feel, I mean, it feels a little better than some, but it's not that great. I didn't like it. And I read a lot of reviews online. You can buy a Berkey one. These prices are Canadian, but they're around 40 bucks. I found this stainless steel one, which was made, it said it was good for Berkey. Just look up the size and match it up. I think this one was technically for like a lemonade cooler, but it's all stainless steel with a food grade silicone washer inside and out for like 16 bucks Canadian. Came from Amazon, showed up the same day that this did. So I installed it all together. The handle maybe isn't quite as sturdy as I want it to be, but it's a quarter turn ball valve and you don't have to push on it at all. So to me, the biggest upgrade that I had to make was this into that, and I was happy. I built the stand for it. I cut off a water cooler, Anyway, so this is a little different video than a lot of the Berkey filter videos out there. I just wanted to get on and share with you. I like to share about a month into my journey with new products and new things, because at that point All the new stuff I've learned is still fresh in my brain, and I can still remember what it was like to be a person looking to buy something who hasn't bought it yet or has questions about something that they haven't been able to find answers to. So I like to go back, and also, it might sound funny, but in a few months, I'm going to forget a lot of this, like my cryptocurrency video or my 3D printer video. I can go back and watch them myself because there's stuff that I put in there. I'm like, damn, that guy's smart. Except I forgot it. I guess that's what happens when you turn 40, right? But anyway, that's it for me for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like to hear a little bit about my journey with the Berkey water filter and how much my wife loves it, because she was okay with the purchase, but I'm sure she was a little more nervous than I was about $300 on a water filter. But yeah, it is what it is. Now I want to hear about you guys. If you've got any tips that I didn't cover, I'd love to put together another video down the road of other things I've learned about my Berkey. But, you know, and if you've tried one and maybe didn't like it, or you've tried different brands, something else that you recommend, or if you have any other tips for saving money, throw them in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thanks again. If you enjoyed this, give it a share. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.